compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act as the Senator Byron and Bear of the Open Public Meetings Act and supplemented Chapter 3 of the Order of Public Business of New Jersey, passed in 1975. Notice of this meeting is given by adopting the annual schedule with location, time, and date, sending copies to the Home News Tribune and posting at Borough Hall, filing a copy with the Borough Clerk within 7 days following the annual organization meeting in this body. I ask you to rise now for an invocation given by Councilwoman Rasmussen, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I would like to send our condolences to Diana Yashinsky, our registrar, lost her brother suddenly over the weekend. Our thoughts and prayers go out to her and her family. And also I'd like to take a moment of silence to contemplate the matters at hand tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Katie, if we could have a roll call.
Councilman Wallace.
Here.
Councilwoman Rubin. I'm sorry.
She's not here.
She left the building a while ago.
Appreciate that.
Councilwoman Rasmussen. Here. Councilwoman Insero.
Definitely here.
Councilman Grazel.
Here.
Councilman Camerano.
Here.
Council President Muldoon.
Here. I'd like to make a motion for the council to go into closed session to discuss a ongoing litigation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Yep. Chief? Mr. Tebow? Back in session. Okay. Quickly, the agenda session. Is there anything for the agenda? Oh, you want to open the agenda session, sorry.
I move that we open the agenda session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Are there any items for the agenda session? Hearing none, can we close the agenda session?
I move we close the agenda session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We now have a discussion with our police chief and then our fire chief, Chief Rob. First Rob, second Rob. This one? No, you go first.
I sit up first. Somebody wants to go.
Rob, we just invite you here to talk a little bit about the year and any plans that you have. We want to keep this as brief as possible. Sure. And we wanted to take the time, too, to publicly compliment you and the entire force for the jobs that you do for us in the community.
Thank you.
So I'm going to turn it over to you and give you a few minutes.
Sure. I just wanted, in reference to the budget, just talk about two items that I requested, and there are larger priced items. The first being a next-generation 911 system. Currently, our 911 system, we've been experiencing some issues with it where it's kicking off, going out of service, and we've had the vendor come in, take a look at the system. Can't figure out why we're having these issues. But besides that, there's this next-generation 911 system. Our current system is set up that, and particularly with cell phones, if you were to call from your cell phone, the cell phone signal goes to a cell tower. So when the 911 call comes into our headquarters, it'll show the nearest cell phone tower that the signal came from. With this new next generation system, it actually works on a triangulation system, and we actually have a map system in our dispatch which would be able to utilize this system. So if you were in Dismal Swamp and you dialed 911 from a cell phone, it would actually show you on the map exactly where you're located. So it takes out all the guesswork. You know, a lot of times you get people with cell phones, they're not from town, you know, maybe they're on the corner someplace, I'm not sure where I'm at. They may be on the Greenway, they call, we'll be able to find them. So that is one of the systems that I was requesting for this coming year. Second is 7 of our patrol cars have computer systems. You see the laptops in the cars. The state police is requiring, as of September 2013, that all police vehicles that have computers have encryption systems. And 2 types of systems. One could be utilizing a password, but the second would have to be either a key fob or a fingerprint recognition. Our current computers are at the end of their lifespan and their warranty, so I was requesting 7 new laptops, which would have the fingerprint recognition. Also, they're a little bit more heavy-dutier than the ones we have. They are Dells. They are cheaper than the typical Panasonic Toughbook computers that many departments use. They can run close to $4,000 or $5,000. These are about $2,500 to $2,800 a piece. So they're a little bit more durable than the past ones that we've purchased. And yeah, it's one of these things that's mandated. We would have to do something with it. So I think we'll get a lot of good use out of that. So.
Okay. Are there any questions for the chief?
I just had a, Chief, do you have any idea what the warranty period would be on the new computers?
The current computers, for the laptops, I believe were either 4 or 5 years.
So you think it's probably equivalent period of time? I mean, how long do you think these computers will last?
Well,
Banging around in a
they take a
police
lot of
car?
wear and tear.
Yeah.
You know, you figure they're in a car, when a car is out of service, they're exposed to the cold, they're exposed to the heat. You know, occasionally things get spilt on them, they get dropped sometimes when officers take them out inadvertently. So, you know, it does become an issue. And any of the items that we have that are in the cars, you know, wear quickly just from being involved with the elements of the heat and the cold.
And it's not assigned to one officer, it's assigned to the car,
It's
basically.
assigned to a car, correct.
So you have people using it.
Many different people using it, you know, and things happen sometimes, unfortunately.
Bill, is there an alternative to financing these computers? I mean, given their relatively short lifespan, it doesn't seem like an ideal capital item.
The only other way would be for you to include those funds in the operating budget.
Can you at least explore that and present it as an alternative for us?
Oh, I mean, that would be a decision that the council would have to make. Obviously, that would change the amount that you'd need to raise, and you know, the other numbers in terms of the appropriations and the percentage increases would change.
Yeah, at the appropriate time, Mayor and Borough Council President, I'd at least like to explore that, because I just don't think it's a reasonable idea under normal circumstances to finance something with a 3, 4, 5-year lifespan. I mean, I don't know that now's the right time, just maybe later on in the process.
Well, I would make a comment, Councilman, that this is typically something that the borough has done. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't be examined, and I'd be happy to do that. I'd have to look and see here. We are talking not a great deal of money, so that would certainly be something that we could do. As I looked at the capital requests, my intent was to remove as many things as possible that could be handled in other ways. And we do have some funding that is available for computers in other bond ordinances, so I thought that that would be one way that we could deal with that. It certainly could be put in, it could be put in the budget, but it will have an impact.
You can at least show us an alternative to put it in the budget. I mean, I don't question the need for it. It's obviously we need it, but at least give us the option. Can you do that, Bill?
Well, sure, that would, that's totally up to the council.
I have a
how you want-
question on this. So Is there is like a state program that we buy these through?
Usually, I believe that they have a state contract.
On the state
State contract.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's, but it's for purchase of these computers, right? It's not a lease kind of
Correct,
thing?
no.
Because Councilman Griselle, is that a potential thing you're thinking about?
Well, no, my concern is just the idea of something that's relatively modest with a short lifespan, to me, is not generally what you like to put in your capital plans. I mean, I appreciate the fact we may have done it in the past. I don't know, I don't necessarily accept the wisdom of doing it going forward.
Is it generally like a 5-year for capital? Is it?
Computer specific, generally, it's over a 5-year life, is what they look at. That would be a question for bond counsel, as to what that schedule would mean for these items. I mean, yeah, we could, it would be totally up to the council whether, how you wanted to fund these. I gave you an option. You could certainly pick another one.
And what's the actual life from your experience? How long do these computers, just from?
Well, the warranty that we have with Dell is very good. I mean, we've had, computers break in a year, 2 years sometimes. They'll come in, they're very good with replacements, or come in and repair it and give us a replacement while it's being repaired. So it varies. I mean, I think it's going to be 5 years. At the end of this year, we'll be hitting the 5-year mark with these current computers.
So we have some that are like almost 5 years old.
Well, all of them, actually, yeah.
Well, okay.
They've been either, repaired at one point or time, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Chief, I have a question.
Yes.
If all towns have to comply with this 911 requirement, and we're one small town buying however many computers, and, Dell sounds like a great brand, and you got a good price for it, but would we get a cheaper price if we went in with other towns to buy a larger quantity of these computers?
I think you get something confused. The 911 is different than the
different.
computers.
Not 911, but I'm sorry,
The Dell computers?
the computers.
Well, he was saying that they would go with the state contract.
Yeah, you'd have to go with the state contract,
Oh, okay.
and
It's already a volume?
yeah, the
Okay.
price that they have is the price you get.
Oh, okay, I'm new. My first
That's
budget.
fine. But the 911 system is here,
Right,
not in the cars.
I got confused when he was talking
Okay.
about the phones.
I just wanted to
Calling.
clarify so people
Okay.
understand we're talking about two different things. Okay, any other questions? Chief, thank you again, and please relay to all of our officers our really heartfelt thanks for the job that they do. I know we saw a number of them out on yesterday directing traffic and everything for all of the religious activities that were in town at various houses of worship. And I know it's sometimes hard to, be away from your family on those days, so I tried to go up to a couple of them and thank them. But, I think it's important that they know that we really appreciate what they do.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief.
Chief Rob?
Other Chief Rob.
Yep. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
We're just going to give you a few minutes, and again, thank you and thank all of the members of the fire department for the job that they do. I know last week we were called to Perth Amboy for a huge fire. I believe it was Friday.
Saturday, Friday?
Right.
I lose track. Friday night, we were in Perth Amboy for about 7.5 hours. We actually did quite a bit of mutual aid this month. We fought a large fire in Edison with our ladder truck that destroyed their public works salt barn. We did a technical rescue about 2 weeks ago, taking an injured worker out of a attic space on Main Street. That required us to bring in mutual aid. So the mutual aid system is alive and well in Middlesex County. We give when we have to, and we get it when we need it. As far as the operating budget, my request to the administrator was to keep the budget pretty much the same as it was the year before. A few categories were reduced by small amounts, which are fine with us. We are pretty tight on the budget towards the end of the year. We start getting ready for the next year because we start running out of money to take care of the things we take care of. Our operating budget is the money we use to maintain our fire apparatus, repair our turnout gear, purchase incidental equipment, deal with our communications equipment, basically the daily operations of the fire department. Then we have our capital, which this year I requested 5 sets of turnout gear, which we normally request 10, but because of my other capital item, I lowered that request for this year. After speaking with the administrator, I was informed that the turnout gear would be moved from the capital to the operating instead, which is fine. That's your purview, how you finance the tools we use to do our job. And the last item is, of course, the replacement engine that we're requesting to technically replace engine 1, which is a 1989, but really it's replacing the 1970 Mack. The 89 will replace the Mack. It's kind of a hand-down process. The new engine that we're requesting will be the first new apparatus for our town. The fire service is changing, much as our society is. People's time to volunteer, and we are an all-volunteer department, so there's no way for us to guarantee how many people we're going to get out at any given time. A lot of fire departments are starting to front-load their first new apparatus, add a little bit more equipment to it, a little more capability, because honestly, you don't know what's coming behind you. So you need to be able to sustain your operation for the first 10 to 15 minutes to make sure, just in case another piece doesn't come out of your door, or if you have to wait for a mutual aid company to come from another town. So the engine is very similar to what we have now, but it does have a little bit more compartment space on it to allow for a little bit more equipment. It has a generator on it, which allows us to do ventilation with the engine where we normally would have to wait for the ladder or the rescue to arrive. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if you have any questions on the apparatus or my operating.
And you're talking, when you say apparatus, you're talking about a pumper?
Yeah, apparatus is the general term for fire trucks. A pumper is also an engine. The mission of the pumper is to, of course, transport the firefighters to the scene. It carries 750 gallons of water, has a 1,500 gallon per minute pump, a small generator for scene lighting, and all the basic equipment. It's got ground ladders on it, all the hose that you need to fight the fire, your air packs, your flashlights, your basic extrication tools, forcible entry tools, and all the other tools required.
Now, does the equipment from the old 70, some of that transfer over, or is it not really?
Quite honestly, the 70 has nothing on it. It is bare bones. Currently, we're only allowing two passengers on the 70, the driver and the officer. The jump seats are not really compliant with passengers, and the back step, which we rode when I joined the department 25 years ago, is completely out of the question. Now firefighters have to be transported in a completely enclosed cab. So engine 4, the 1970 Mack, is really a tank, a pump, and hose, and very little else. I'm sorry?
Museum piece.
It's literally an antique, but it's still vital to our operation. It still lays hose for water supply, and when another piece goes out of town on mutual aid or goes down for repair, it becomes one of the frontline pieces, which quite honestly is not appropriate in this time.
Okay. And then from there, we have a 1989?
No, the 89 is the one that, we have a 70, an 89, and a 93.
Okay.
So basically, the 70 goes away, the 89 drops back down to the 70, and then the 94 is, well, that's currently the second due and will remain second due. And I'm hoping to stretch the life of that one out as long as possible. But
Okay.
like everything else down the road, that will have to be addressed also.
Okay.
I have a question. Chief, it sounds like as you were describing it, you've sort of spec'd out the requirements or what you need in that pumper. Can you just tell us a little bit how you arrived at those specs? Because I'm sure there's lots of options,
Yeah.
each with associated costs. So.
There's a lot of options. Quite honestly, the first truck that we were speccing was quite a bit more expensive than the one we wound up looking at, and had different features. One of the problems in the fire service is getting in tight places. Our current engines, 1 and 2, the 89 and the 93, have what's called a top mount pump panel on them. For safety purposes and scene observation, they're ideal. The pump operator stands on a walkway on the top of the engine and operates all the discharges and the water controls and everything from that point. They also have direct access to the deck gun, which is the large caliber stream on top. But what that does is it makes the truck longer, and we can't afford the space. The new complexes that are built in town, the over-park things, and it's not just here, it's everywhere. Back in the 90s and the late 80s and 90s, everything was getting bigger and bigger. Now we're trying to do more with less. We're trying to shrink it back down again, make it more maneuverable, and be able to get it into tighter spaces. So that was probably one of the leading things that we were looking at. The reason I say we were originally speccing something different is there's a whole new hydraulic pump configuration that's available on the market today from a couple of different manufacturers that actually reduces the size of the truck even more and allows for greater compartment space. But the cost is considerably higher. So the truck that we're looking at is considered more of a city truck, more of a work truck, not a fancy truck. There's many different models like cars. You can go from, different engines and transmissions, different cab sizes. Our current cabs were designed to hold 10 firefighters. Well, back in those days, it seemed good because we had tons of people. Now we're shrinking the cab down, and we're carrying fewer people, and there's more attention is being put on what is actually needed, not what the Joneses have, or we're not buying what's available, we're buying what we need. And the design of the truck is based on my 25 years of experience in the fire service and the other people on the truck committee and the other members of the department. We try to get as much input from the senior members as possible, but then we also want to get it from the junior members, who are the ones that are actually getting in the back seat. I haven't ridden in the back seat of a fire truck in some time, so it would be
Those
wrong.
days are over, huh?
And it may not be for long, but it would be wrong of me to design every aspect of the back of the truck to, when there's guys that are back there every day riding around. So that's kind of how we approach it. And again, the design and the equipment we're hoping to carry are with the intent of, it's the first due piece, it's what's going out the door first time, every time, and we want to make sure it has what it needs.
Will this help to increase our pumping capacity?
It, according to our ISO ratings, it would keep us level because they don't honestly ask for, our GPMs meet now. The engine 4, the Mac, is a 1,000 GPM, which is minimal. It's a very small amount of water. Our other pumpers are 1250s. Well, now the pump sizes are increasing also. 15 is just the standard pump size now. Okay. But it's a very respectable amount of water. A lot of departments are going to 2,000s. Even the ladder truck has a 2,000 GPM pump on it. That's what they put on ladder trucks. But it's honestly, it's difficult to supply that much water to any fire truck. Most fire hydrants aren't capable of that much water.
Councilwoman, you had a question?
Yes. I just wanted to know, the antique 43-year-old, will we sell it for scrap? Like, what happens to
Quite
it?
honestly, it's worth nothing. I know there's
Not
members
even
that would...
scrap metal? I mean, we can get some money for it.
And there might be a couple of dollars. The ladder truck, when we replaced the ladder truck in 2006, we got $10,000 for it from the Bergen County Fire Academy, and that was charity. I mean, there's scrappers that would buy it. There's also members of the department that are interested in buying it and having an antique somewhere, not maintained by the department, but rather, it is an antique. It's from yesteryear. It's open cab design, it's a manual transmission, it's a gas motor. Everything about it really is from days gone by.
And the others are diesel motors?
Yes, everything's diesel.
And also then engine number 2, which is the 20-year-old, then that'll go to the bottom of the heap, so to speak?
No, it would remain as the second due. The first, engine 2 is our designated mutual aid engine. So anytime another town calls for an engine company from us, engine 2 is the one that goes. And the reason for that designation is there's a couple of different pieces of equipment on it that are a little different than the other engines. Rapid intervention equipment, which is when you arrive on scene, a designated team of firefighters is set aside just to rescue firefighters if they get in distress. So it's got our department's rapid intervention equipment on board. That equipment, like everything else in the fire service, is rather pricey, so we don't have it on everything. Engine 2 will remain in the second slot, again, hoping to stretch out the life as much as possible. The 89, current engine 1, which will become engine 4, it's actually considered the flex engine. It'll be the first modern piece of apparatus we've ever had in that position, which is going to be a big benefit to us. Prior to that, we had a 1951 Mac, then the 1970. Well, the current engine 1, which will be engine 4, it gets confusing, and I have to keep saying it in my head also, the 89. When the ladder truck goes out of service, certain equipment will be moved from it to that engine. We call it the flex engine, so that when something else goes out of service, it takes up its role. It can move into a frontline engine role. It can carry the extrication equipment or other supplies off the rescue truck if necessary, or it can carry certain ladders and other equipment off the ladder truck. It gives us more flexibility than we've ever had before in that position. And again, when trucks go out of service, unfortunately, they go out for a long time sometimes. It gives us a first due, because when we're down one pumper now, we're really not fully capable of fighting a major structure fire, because we're down to one main pump.
But with this new engine, then that would really improve your ability to respond with the proper equipment.
It maintains our ability and slightly improves it. To lose the engine completely would be very bad for operations. To move this engine over, and then I hope to get another 10, 15 years out of this engine too. That's why it's not going away after 23 years of service. It's being, repurposed like we repurpose a lot of other vehicles in the fire department. And we will, we got 43 years out of the MAC. I don't know that we'll get that out of this piece, but I'm hopeful.
Okay.
Councilman?
Chief, do you know if on a custom item like we're talking about here, if there's a period of time between when you order it and when you get delivery?
Depending on the manufacturer, they can usually be anywhere between 6 months and a year. So that's another aspect of, when we decide to buy something. Fire trucks are a difficult animal. They're the only thing that can do their job. You can put garbage in the back of a dump truck or, another type of vehicle. You can patrol the streets in a different type of car if it's necessary, but only a fire truck brings with it a pump, hose, water, and all the various equipment. So replacing it on a timely basis or when they're due to be replaced is an important part of our replacement policy. And figuring in the delivery time plays into that as well.
Okay. So it could be as long as a year?
Not for a pumper, for a ladder truck. Generally, a ladder truck is considerably longer. A pumper would probably be 6 to 8 months, maybe. That'd be a guess on my part.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Chief, and don't take offense to this question, but are you familiar with the 2008 State Commission of Investigation report on fire truck purchasing?
I know there was a report, and I know it had
One of the things they were very critical of, and I'm not suggesting we're there, I actually want to prevent this from happening.
Right.
Is having specs written so narrowly that only one company qualifies to design and manufacture a truck for towns. And often it's a very expensive company. I want to make sure in our process as we go through the specs, through your committee that you've established, which is great, we get the input, but that we're very careful not to use specific criteria in the writing of the specs so that we can get multiple manufacturers to participate. The other thing that came out of that report was a state purchasing cooperative for fire equipment. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Well, there's the state bid. Fire trucks now are on the state bid, and there's also another cooperative available, which a lot of departments are starting to go to, the HGAC, which we've looked into as well. So we're looking at a couple of different options to provide to the council.
There's also a statewide capital cooperative through the Department of Treasury, just like any other state contract.
I wasn't aware of that one. I was aware of state bid and the
And if
HGAC.
you go there, right now, there's currently 4 companies that are on that list to purchase the equipment. The one thing I did notice in looking through, and I'm not an expert on this, I'm not pretending to be, but it does appear to me that the amount that we're bonding is really looking to a Cadillac as opposed to a Buick or something like that.
I know departments getting trucks $100,000 more expensive than
I
what we're
don't
talking
care
about.
about other departments, I care about ours. And
No,
I
but I'm
want the
comparing,
truck.
you're saying Cadillac, I'm saying there are true Cadillacs out there. I'll be honest, the specification, the manufacturer that we've been working with is Pierce Manufacturing, which is the truck that is our entire fleet. It has been very successful for us. We've had a good relationship with the dealership. They do our maintenance as well, and that is a bid that goes out for our maintenance contract. There are other fire truck manufacturers. There are also issues in the industry like any other place. So there are no proprietary features in this truck itself. Like I said, it's one of the one that we're speccing right now, and that's the base that you spec on. Anyone that goes to bid with a blind spec is a fool. They get a piece of junk. And we have that from experience. The old ladder truck was spec'd to be a straight stick ladder with a pump on it. Somehow, after it went to bid, a manufacturer in Canada came back, PRT Bow, and they offered a platform with no pump. And the fire department was impressed by the bucket feature, or the platform feature.
At the time, yeah.
The council was impressed by the low cost of it, and it was a red herring that we had for 25 years.
I'm not suggesting we purchase the lowest cost
Right.
product, because I get that.
Right.
You kind of get what you pay for, but, you know, there are a number of departments in the area that use multiple vehicles manufactured by different companies.
Right.
And what I just want to make sure is that when we do develop the specs, that we do have the option and that we are utilizing the cooperative purchasing if it gets us a reduced cost. Because this is a big ticket item. This is not something, and as you know, we've talked about this for a number of years now, and I think we are at the point where we really need to do it.
Right.
But I want to make sure we're doing it in a way in which is most cost-effective and most efficient for both the fire department and for the borough.
I agree.
And I'd like to keep this thing forever, so.
I agree.
So, I mean, I just want to make sure that as we go through, you know, the bells and whistles, it's got to be we need to have it, not we want it, it's nice to have.
Right.
The nice to haves in this day and age are just not going to cut it.
Absolutely.
So.
Council President, did you have a question?
Well, yeah, just following up on what the councilman just said. So when you put together the, I guess it's a price estimate at this point that you gave to the borough administrator, was the state cooperative purchasing plan used to get the price, or how was that price?
No, it's based on working with a manufacturer and developing a general spec. Once the spec goes out, then it gets cleaned up by, you know, if you're able to apply it to a cooperative. I understand, like, the one cooperative that I'm familiar with has big savings on. If you use that cooperative, you wind up saving, I've heard, anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 off the cost of the truck as spec'd by the manufacturer. And then there's the additional savings of the legal fees and the not publishing the bid and all the other stuff because you're going through a cooperative. So you're saving administrative cost on the back end, and you're saving equipment cost on the front end. I don't know the cooperative that Councilman Camerano spoke about. I'd really like to see the information. I'll grab it from there, that's fine. But any path that we can go is fine. My concern is that we get equipment that is functional and reliable and that there's a support structure behind it. Companies come and go. That Canadian truck that we had, that company went out of business and nobody would fix the truck for us. I mean, when we got rid of it, we were in pretty dire straits with it. And there are companies that do continue to come and go. So there are a few main players that, as long as it stayed in that area,
Right,
I would
I
be
think
confident.
probably the cooperative program is aware of the same issues that you are, that some companies are in fire trucks for a while, then they get out, right? So,
Right.
But I think maybe, because Bill and Tom, correct me, but I believe like for the police department, don't we buy,
We bought the two cars from
through
the, with the.
it's a different cooperative, but,
Cranford Cooperative. Yeah.
okay.
The cooperatives are great when you can buy all kinds of stuff through them, so I'm a fan.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm not a fan of low bid. I think low bid is an excuse, not a reason. I think it's unfortunate what has been done to a lot of government agencies through low bid. And if a cooperative is reasonable and responsible, I think it's a great route if it's possible.
Certainly worth pursuing.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
agree, and I think our administrator has to be the one that does, a lot of, the department created some specs, and I think our administrator has to do the research as to the cooperatives and narrowing it down, working with the department.
Just have one more question.
Yes.
With the new equipment, the new technology, the changing or the evolving firefighting business, for lack of a better word, do you foresee in the future us being able to reduce the fleet by a truck?
My goal way down the road, but unfortunately planning is difficult in municipal government because the plan that you make can change, the next day. Down the road, when the rescue truck needs to be replaced, I could see replacing that with the rescue pumper and reducing the fleet by one.
Okay.
I do
I
see
mean, I'm
that.
not looking to compromise the department's efficiency.
I'm just being
It's
honest with
more,
you.
as trucks do more, does that give us that ability? So I appreciate the answer on that.
Yeah, again, but see, on that truck, that would be a pretty expensive truck because it incorporates that other pump system I was talking about. If you're trying to jam more into a small package, you're going to pay for it. But if you could take one full set of wheels off the road, I can understand that too. We're not, the rescue truck is in 1996, so we're really not at the point where that's even a possibility. But down the road, if I still had my say in some number of years, that would be my path.
What's the next truck behind that, behind the one we're doing now?
89, 93, 96.
Okay.
The 96 is the rescue, so, and it doesn't have a pump on it. But again, when the rescue was bought, the popular thing to do was to get these big walk-through rescue bodies where you put a command post inside and a lot of interior space. Well, it's great in the wintertime when we're at a fire scene or we have something going on. It is nice to have a warm place to go, and you can actually, drink coffee in the back of it and stay warm and run the fire scene. But the reality is now people are trying to jam more into the smaller package. They're taking away that interior living space or drivable space and filling it with equipment. So you can actually carry more on a modern rescue pumper than you can on a traditional rescue.
Your Honor, just one other point, and just getting back to the cooperative I mentioned, the reason it's probably not well-known right now is most of it kicked in December 1st of last year. So it's still relatively new.
And the state bid is new, too.
Yeah, so it's still out there, and it's probably why a lot of people haven't become familiar with it yet, so it's pretty reasonable.
And you can do other stuff on there, too?
As far as?
All equipment? Equipment in general, or is it fire trucks?
Yeah, this one I think is, you know what, it may be everything. I'll give you the stuff.
I'm wondering if turnout gear could be on there.
Well, we buy gear on state contract already.
You can take a look. I mean, I'll give you, it has the different, you can actually click on the different company websites and see what's available from everything from a ladder truck to a little pickup truck or whatever.
Gotcha.
They have all that, but they do have, I noticed, certain equipment that goes with the truck. I'm not sure about turnout gear and stuff like that. So, but it's worth looking at.
Any other questions, Councilman?
I can give you a little more information on this cooperative thing, because KME, one brand out there, is the one that's been doing most of the advertising. They have 40 trucks, they built them already standard, like off the line, and you can get it for $10,000 cheaper under that cooperative. However, they're all painted the same, and they may not be your town color, it may not be that, and when you, to have it painted, that's another $10,000. To have this done to it, it's another $5,000. You end up paying $50,000 more than what the cooperative thing says, and to get just your minor little things you want on them.
Yeah, I think, Councilman, I appreciate that, and that's, I'm not suggesting this is the best way to go. I'm suggesting we look at it. But they do actually list, and in some cases, 50 pages of options.
Right.
That you can get on a fire truck, which talks about, it says volumes about the complexity of these things.
I mean, there's stainless steel kick plates on doors, there's lights
it gets
here,
into
lights
all
there,
that.
it's really,
So,
it's
I mean,
huge.
the thing is, I think it's something we need to explore and to look at, because it may be a better way, it may not be. I don't know the answer to that.
And again, just to answer the bells and whistles real quick, nothing that we're looking at, there's no attempt to keep up with the Joneses, and we're not trying to impress anybody else. Everything that goes into the truck is based on operational need and safety. So that's I'm not going to make it sound like it's robotic and that, there's no deviation, but in general, that's the approach. The way firefighters get in and out of the cabs. There was a point when the large cabs, we're installing tools, axes, Halligan bars and stuff in there. And then we found out now you've got a firefighter fully donned in his PPE, wearing an air pack, carrying a Halligan and an axe, trying to climb backwards out of the cab of the truck. It was dangerous.
It's a big step.
I'm sorry?
That's a big step down.
Yeah, and, in inclement weather, the rain, whatever, the dark, Phoenix, Arizona kind of leads the way in technology and the fire service. They're like the West Coast, or the Midwest, whatever you want to call them, high-speed guys. They're not even mounting air packs in the cabs anymore. They're putting them on the outside, because there was a big thing about, what do you do, put your seatbelt on or put your air pack on? The fire service is 150 years of tradition unhampered by progress. And we're trying wherever we can to learn our lessons and make things as safe as possible for everybody. So as far as bells and whistles, we're not trying to make this a fancy truck. We're really trying to get what the borough of Metuchen needs.
Thank you, Chief. And I also want to compliment you and all of the firefighters And particularly, I wanted to mention, because I happened to be at a training session with the tying and knots, I
Good
guess it
timing.
was a month ago, and then lo and behold, 2 weeks later, you guys were using all of that stuff to extricate somebody out between, trapped between a roof and a ceiling, and I gather you, you know, it was very successful. If you saw the pictures, you had to wrap the guy, and you know, he was injured, and you had to work with the EMS and everybody to get him out, and it was a difficult extrication.
On that point, just real quick, it really went very well, and technical rescue, confined space, rope rescue, all those areas, motor vehicle rescue are all areas that we don't do on a regular basis, but when something goes wrong, we are the people expected to deal with it. So it's one of those things that we have to have in our toolbox, we have to train for, but we don't have the experience of doing it every day. I am very, very happy with how that call went. Captain Soltis, who's a former chief and a former instructor at the academy, heads our technical rescue training, and at least once a month, sometimes twice, in addition to our regular training, he holds these technical rescue drills. And then also, while we're on scene, we've always had a very good relationship with JFK, Mercy 9. A paramedic from Mercy 9 was up there, and our ambulance 601 crew was up there, and our relationship with them has just been fantastic. So I just want to compliment them as well. The teamwork of my firefighters and the EMS personnel working to get this patient out, and it went really well.
Yeah, but I wanted to compliment you, and please relay that to the entire
Absolutely will.
firefighter staff.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
If you go on, you can click and it'll give you back. No, yep.
Mr. Atkinson, could you please come forth so we can have a discussion about the insurance renewal?
I'll start out, Mayor.
And I'm going to have Bill give us some background before we turn you loose, okay? Okay, Bill.
Well, once again, it's that time of year where we go out competitively as we can to reinsurers to renew our self-insured program. There are a couple components to it, primarily, and the insurance costs are generated through reinsurers who provide us with two stop-loss options, or actually we require two stop-loss options. One is a specific program which limits the amount that an individual can accumulate in terms of health claims, and the other is an aggregate amount which is the maximum amount that the entire borough workforce who is covered by our insurance can incur. You have been provided with information with regard to our current carrier, who is American Fidelity Assurance Company, and also some options that come from the U.S. Fire Insurance Company, and you've noticed on the renewal options that was provided by IDA, Mr. Atkinson, there are actual two options for each of the companies, and we can get into the specifics about that. The third component really are the claims. Since we are self-insured, we do cover claims as stipulated in our coverage manuals. We do have, I think it's 6 or 7 various groups that we do cover based upon their affiliation with either a collective bargaining agreement or their affiliation with a collective bargaining unit and are currently retired. We do have people who are on Medicare and everything in between. I'll let Mr. Atkinson get into the specifics. There is a little wrinkle in this, in that since I did submit the information to you with regard to the options, our current company has come back with a slightly improved option with regard to the deductible for the specific claims. And unless there's someone who has general questions, we need to take a look at that. Mike, do you have additional information for the council?
Did you get the email I sent?
Yes. I thought you were bringing that information.
Well, I didn't make a ton of copies, but I do have the renewal packets here. I have 2 of them.
Oh, I was anticipating that they were going to be provided to all of
I mean,
the...
if there's a copy, or we could really get down to the nuts and bolts, is really just 2
Well,
pages. We can get into that if you'd like.
Okay. Would it be possible to, I think, we could have Katie make some copies of the options that you sent me this afternoon?
2 or 3 minute recess and other copies of the minutes?
Well, we can continue some of this.
Before we do that, do you have the packets? Is that what we're copying now?
Oh, yeah, I have 2 sets, and then I emailed Bill one, so...
What's in that?
Well, this is claim reporting as well as the options from the various carriers.
Okay, so it's the stuff we ordinarily get.
Yes.
Right, but it's all summarized on this sheet.
Is that what Katie's copying now?
Yeah, she's copying the
Just
summarization.
Just the one.
Just the summaries, but not the actual details.
Not the details of the
Just
meat
this
of the
one sheet.
claims. Right, actually, it's the other, I'll show it to you if you want.
Well, it doesn't, I mean, I get what you got. I've seen it the last 6 years. I'm a little perplexed. Actually, when I got the packet, I was surprised how thin it was this year.
Right, well, I mean, we can certainly provide that. I would mention that no decision has to be made this evening concerning this, and given that we have just today received some additional information, it may be prudent to wait until the next meeting. The idea of putting the resolution on the agenda was, and of course this was prior to having additional information, should the council decide that they wanted to go with the option that we were recommending, that then at their option they could do so this evening. It also gives you an opportunity to take a look at the resolution that you would be passing to go forward May 1st of this year.
So, Bill, you're saying that we have a resolution on the agenda, but we don't have to take action on that tonight?
No, I put it on there in case you wanted to. We do have some additional information. I'm not sure that that's actually going to change your opinion, but you can be the judge of that. Also, in this business, it's often helpful to continue the process up until as close to renewal as possible. Oftentimes, Mr. Atkinson can prod reinsurers into providing a better rate for us in one of the components of the program. So we don't really lose anything by waiting. The only problem that we would have, and that generally isn't the problem, is if you get too close within, say, a couple of days, then the ability to secure the coverage and get some of the paperwork signed and all of that becomes difficult. But unless you say something different, we don't have,
No,
we're under no
no immediate rush.
no need to do this.
Okay, Mr. Atkinson, Bill, you said there was some change. Where was that change that was received?
Well, Elite provided us with a revised quote for the specific plan with the $50,000 corridor.
So it's the second, the renewal option,
I think
or option 1?
Oh, okay, you're giving them these, all right. Oh. Well, I just wanted this sheet, actually, but that's...
Why don't you make?
Yeah, why don't you? Because they're familiar with this form rather than this.
Okay.
This might have to be, I'd probably have to
So
relearn.
this is different than this.
Yes,
Let's take a
Do this once.
5-minute recess, and then we can get all the paperwork together and then go over it, okay?
So make a motion for a
Yes.
5-minute recess?
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we will reconvene at 8:20.
I'd like to make a motion that we reconvene the council meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, where do we leave off?
Well,
Bill, why don't you?
we do have the appropriate paperwork here now, and I'm going to let Mr. Atkinson jump in.
Okay.
I do apologize. Normally, we do have a packet for you. However, due to the holiday, we did not get that information. In fact, I'm just seeing that tonight, but the basis for the renewal options are on the one-page summary.
Okay. Mike, Mr. Atkins?
Sure. Just for the people who are, I'll go through the basics of the program and how the reinsurance works, so everybody is familiar with how that is set up. Currently, we're with Elite, which is a managing general underwriter, and they provide us the insurance through American Fidelity. We have a $50,000 individual specific deductible on everyone in the township. They are, that's the maximum that the town is responsible for any one given person. We have a $95,000 specific corridor, which you can think of that as a deductible. Before the reinsurer pays, we have to satisfy that corridor, and that could be met by one person or multiple people, completing that deductible. And once that is satisfied, then the reinsurer kicks in. And the reason we did that years ago is because it saves the premium. You take on a little more risk, but it saves your fixed costs. It's kind of a pay me now, pay me later type of situation. But it's, and if you don't hit any, if you do not have any large claims over $50,000, then, you save the $95,000. So it's kind of it's a great tool. It's worked in the past. This year we had a little bit of a rough year. So we did have some large claimants, and we did go through that corridor. We are on a contract basis that is incurred in '24, so it looks at claims that are 2 years old, has to be paid within a 12-month period, which begins on May 1st. And that's both on the individual deductible and on the aggregate deductible, but Bill talked about earlier, which is your group claim liability. And currently, just for rough numbers without getting into, going through each number, but we have roughly 106 employees and retirees on the plan. Our total reinsurance fixed cost this current policy period was $223,000. Our aggregate deductible liability on the group was $1.7 million, so a total reinsurance liability of just under $2 million. And what's happening is the fixed costs stay the same, but this year our claims, even though we had 3 large claimants that really caused the reinsurance renewal to be where it is today, the overall group claims ran very well, estimating to come in just around $1.4 million. So our overall planned costs through the reinsurance is roughly $1.6 million. Elite, on the second column there, the renewal offer originally came in around 44%. We were able to beat them up with some competition. They dropped it down to 33%. So, which is, very competitive to what we had. We went out to the marketplace as we usually do, and we went to roughly 12 carriers. And unfortunately, with some of the risk that's out there, most of the carriers declined. And we came down to really 3 reinsurers that really wanted to play, if you will, and we narrowed it down to 2, which are on the sheet that's presented in front of you. The other is an MGU DHR out of Marlton, New Jersey, and they represent U.S. Fire. And you can see in option 2 for the same risk, same contract, they came in at $305,000. Their overall claim liability is slightly better at $1.8 million versus the $1.962 million. So that's a viable option. You have less claim liability. Fixed costs are slightly higher, about $7,000, but your overall liability to the town, if you hit worst-case scenario, is about $130,000 less. Bill and I have been going back and forth, and one of the options that I think is very viable at renewal is option 3 through DHR, which would be increasing your liability on any one individual from 50 to 60, but all the other parameters of the contract stay the same. So you don't have any holes in your contract, there's no gap in coverage. And that option it would be that your fixed costs would go to $261,000, and from 223 to 261, and that's the most competitive fixed cost pricing. We know we have a couple of people that are going to be continuing as a large claim moving into next policy period. So even though we're taking on more fixed cost, individual claim liability going up $10,000, it still could be less expensive at the 60 level than staying at the 50 level if we do have the claims that we think we may have. So at the present time, my recommendation to Bill was to move to option 3 and increase the claim liability on any one individual from 50 to 60, trying to maintain your fixed cost and keeping, what Bill's budget projections are for the health plan. So that would be my recommendation, would be move to option 3. And if we were to stay at the 50 level, then I would say renew with Elite, and we would, do that. But I think moving to option 3 and increasing your claim liability would be the way to go at this year, for this year. In the past, we've tried to maintain the $50,000 level, but with what's going on out there, I think it's a pretty good risk to go to the 60 this year.
So you're saying that would be a savings of roughly $37,000?
Correct. And so then we would really have to have 3.5 people, if you will, to go over 50 to 60 and have that additional claim liability to lose money on that. So in the past, we haven't really had 5 or 6 people going into that threshold. But this year, we know of 1 and probably 2 people that are ongoing that may, hit that amount.
So you're saying we may only have 3 employees that would, or retirees, that would exceed that amount?
Yeah, right now, from this past year, we had 3 individuals that hit hard, and, when, the reinsurer paid out almost $700,000 on 3 people. Moving forward, it does look like there will be 2 ongoing claims. 1, so there's definitely going to be 2. So the chances of a third, we've always been around 2 to 3 a year. So I think it's a good option to take that risk at this point, save some fixed cost, and then hopefully, we'll be able to manage those claims as they come in.
You might want to mention the blazer on the one individual, too.
Yeah, we, both carriers, knowing the situation, and we'll circulate the information to you so you have it, but there was an individual out there that has been put at a different specific level than the rest of the group. And that means what we call lasering. So that one individual is going to be at a $90,000 threshold, before the reinsurer kicks in. So it's an additional $40,000 claim liability on that one individual for next year.
So the borough pays out the 90,000?
If it hits.
Yeah.
You know, if the claims don't get to that amount, then it's a moot point, but you would still be, you know, up to the 50 is what your normal responsibility would be. On this one individual, they put at 90. And all the carriers that we looked at, actually, some of them were even higher than that. We beat them down pretty good. We had $125,000 and $175,000 laser when we started, and we got them down to 90 with just talking to the providers and seeing what their treatment plans are. And a couple, I think one individual is going to become Medicare primary, which that will then take the town's responsibility away and become a secondary payer on that claim, too. So, you know, it was a rough year for 3 people, but the group claim liability was relatively good this year as a whole. And, you know, but those 3 individuals really hit the plan hard and hit the reinsurer hard. I'd like to keep it with Elite, but I think the best thing would do is maybe to move it to save some fixed cost, and, you know, I'd like to see them try to get some of the money back. I mean, obviously, they paid out almost $700,000. You don't want to, you know, 1 year hit and leave them, you know, but it's nice to have that continuity, too, in keeping a reinsurer on the plan for more than 1 year. But, you know, finances are finances, and we do have a very solid offer from DHR, and, you know, I think that's probably the way to go. If you were to, you know, go to the 60, I would move it to DHR. If you stay at 50, and we can study that even further with talking to Bill, I would renew with Elite if you wanted to stay at the 50 and not take that additional risk per person.
So basically, our option is to go to the 60, save 37,000.
Right.
Potentially. Or to stay with Elite at the 50.
Correct.
And that would cost us 37,000 more.
Correct.
With the renewal.
Your Honor.
Right. But knowing that you probably would only have, hopefully, just the 2 claimants. If you had a third, you may be able to save $8,000 to $10,000. If we have 2, you probably save $18,000 to $20,000, you know, not going through the,
Just,
so it's kind of a crapshoot.
but just for my own clarification, because we're not actually saving $37,000. We're saving $37,000 off an increase, am I right? The overall cost of the plan for this year is still going up.
The overall cost of the plan is going up roughly 16%, 17% on the fixed cost, 9% on the overall cost, which is still way under 10.
What's the dollar amount?
I'm sorry?
What's the dollar amount?
If you're looking at total liability, it is roughly $180,000 if you went to the 60, and about $200,000 or so on the, $300,000, I'm sorry, on the 50.
Right, so the savings, just so I
On
understand.
overall claim liability, if you had worst-case scenario,
It's just
which we've
if we
never
go with
had.
option 3 over option 2, that's, I think, what you're referring
Right,
to. But the overall cost is still going up significantly.
Oh, yeah, the overall cost on a fixed cost basis is going up 33% if you went with the 50 and 17% if you go with the 60, absolutely, on the fixed costs. And that's just a one component piece. So it's a smaller number than looking at the whole pie. If you were fully insured and you got a 33% increase on $1 million, you know, that's 300 and some thousand, right? If you have 100,000, you get a 33% increase, it's 33. So the component piece is going up.
Mayor? What do we pay in administrative costs to insurance design administrators to be self-insured every year?
I can answer that if you would.
Do you have those sheets?
Yeah, that was on the one sheet that I passed out earlier, with the options on it, and that's roughly 60, 70, including the dental and the prescription drug, it's roughly
No, I just mean-
$80,000.
No, just your costs, not
Yeah, that's our cost,
Everything.
our fixed cost to do the administration of the plan.
$80,000 a year.
Correct.
And are these benefits similar to what our employees would get in a state health benefit program?
They're comparable. I think your plan is richer in some respects than the state health benefit plan. that we've looked at, and we did look at the cost for the state health benefit plan. The state was, I believe, around $1.9 million guaranteed, and you're coming in around $1.750 this year. So, and we looked at it last year as well, and the overall cost of the plan is more cost-effective being self-funded than being with the
And
state.
that's a flat fee that we pay, not a percentage.
That's correct, yeah. To my firm is a per employee per month fee, yes.
Does it make sense to be self-insured if I'm understanding this correctly, we have these outlier cases? Is that because we have a workforce that's skewed a little bit older? Or am I off base?
I think it varies. It doesn't necessarily mean the age of the person.
No, actually, when they get over 65, if you're not actively at work, Medicare is primary.
Right.
So the secondary hit to the borough is a lot less. We do have quite a number, ratio-wise, for the retirees that are not yet to 65, and they hit the plan typically fairly hard. But overall, the age wasn't a factor in not getting other reinsurance quotes this year. I've seen it with other towns where they have a very skewed, if greater than 50, almost 60% of their census is a retiree group, and that can become problematic. But
It's not us.
right now, I don't think the retiree population is the major issue here or the biggest cost driver of the plan.
What percentage of our cohort is retiring?
It's about 30%.
About 20, right?
30%?
30, 20, yeah. Because we have roughly 106. I don't think there's any retirees on the dental. We
No,
have
we don't-
73 on the dental, and that's mostly the active, so roughly 33 retirees.
And with either option, the renewal or the DHR, there's no change in benefit or coverage to employees or retirees?
No, absolutely not. Everything is
Same.
the same. There's no benefit design change whatsoever.
So no change in the cards or anything?
No, we're keeping the network the same. I mean, QualCare's done a good job for you.
Can you explain that? Because I always try to figure out who, all these different players.
Yeah.
So what's the role of QualCare?
QualCare is our medical management firm. They handle the pre-certification, large case management. If somebody gets sick, they're on it, and they manage that for us. They're also the provider network that the employees go to.
So they carry like a QualCare card?
Yeah, the card has insurance design administrators as the lead, and then has a QualCare logo on the front of the card, so when they present the card to the provider, just like a Blue Cross Blue Shield or AmeriHealth, et cetera. And so then the claim gets discounted appropriately. We process the claims come through our firm. What we do is we bring all the component pieces of the plan together, and we manage all that. And one of the networks that we contracted with, probably 7 years ago maybe now, because we had a couple different ones for a while, CHN, I believe, was here. So they handle that piece, and then we work together on, on managing the program.
Any other questions?
So, I was going to say, so what is this, the DHR, U.S. Fire Insurance Company, how does that work into your firm and QualCare?
Well, they're the DHR, like Elite, they're a managing general underwriter, and we go to them for the stop-loss insurance, which is the reinsurance with the catastrophic risk. We have no relationship other than a vendor relationship. We work with them on many different cases, public, union, whatever the case may be. They'll quote our business, and we work hand in hand that way. But they're a A-plus rated. U.S. Fire is the actual insurance company. They're an A-plus rated company, and I can get Bill the AM Best on that if you wanted to see the financial stability there. But we've worked with them in the past. They pay their claims. They're very good. Elite's been very good to you as well. They've paid all the claims this year without a hitch, and I give them credit for that, because, worst thing you could have is a large claim and a reinsurer fight you on it,
So they're the ones that hold the money that gets paid out if we're self-insured?
No, what happens is when a claim reaches the 50,000 threshold, we have what we call a spec advance on the claim, so the borough pays up to 50. And then what we do is we work with the reinsurer, providing them the claim runs. They fund those claims, and then we release them to the provider. So they're the catastrophic risk. We process all the claims for the borough, and then when, we work hand in hand in making sure that when something goes over that threshold, that they pay, and then we pay the provider and get the money from them. So the borough doesn't have to lay out on a $100,000 or $800,000 claim. The borough doesn't have to pay $800,000 out and wait for that money to come back in. We only pay up to 50, and then we do the behind-the-scenes stuff, working with Bill and Becky and Evelyn to get those claims.
Right, we get our
funded.
claims charges from IDA, and as a result of those, then we pay
Right.
the bills.
Yeah.
So
You only get...
we don't put any money up front.
Right.
And
As they're
I have to
incurred
say-
and reported, that's how you fund the claims. So you don't, if we had a $2 million spend and it's $200,000 a month for your health care, we do not collect $200,000 and then pay. You pay as you go and as the claims come in. So you get that cash float advantage.
Plus, you also know what your claims experience is. In theory, you're supposed to be able to get a better price for your insurance overall.
And it has worked.
It
I mean,
has,
it's a
yeah.
big number, but it still has worked in the past. I mean, it has.
I'm sure I'd consider a 33% increase working,
Well,
candidly.
well, it's 33 for elite. It's 20, 36 and then 17, but it is a big number when you look at the risk pool and paying out $700,000. I mean, they really took it on the chin last year, so and there's going to be ongoing claims. I mean, we know that. We have 2 that are probably going to hit.
So, all right, knowing that and looking forward, does it make sense, and I think this is a question the councilman was asking, does it make sense for us to continue to self-insure?
Absolutely, it's working. We know what the state benefit costs always came in, and I was comparing it to the Direct 10 program.
Was that an actual quote, or was that just a comparison?
No, I passed it on to Bill, the numbers, they're right on the website, they're filed, so 2013 rates,
But
you'd
that
have the
doesn't-
benefit for 7 months,
That
and then you
doesn't
don't know
factor
what...
in our experience and all that either, no, does it?
They don't take into consideration any experience, the
Okay,
state.
so
No,
straight up-
you could have the worst
Straight
claims...
up, these are our rates.
Right, these are your rates regardless, there's no medical underwriting.
How about any other type plans similar to that as opposed to the self-insured? Did we look at any of that?
No, I did not, no. Bill solicited some brokers to quote the account, and I don't think anybody came through with any numbers, as far as I know.
We have in the past, I've been approached periodically by health insurance funds who have in the past received the information packet to go out to give us quotes, and they have declined.
So nobody wants to write our insurance but you, huh? Let me ask you another question. Why couldn't we just deal with QualCare? Why do we need you?
You could deal with
Don't take
QualCare.
it personally. I mean, I'm just asking.
No, QualCare's quoted in the past. I mean, QualCare is a third-party administrator. They definitely do what we do.
They
And they've-
declined this year, too.
Is there a redundancy in the system there?
No, not at all, because it's a piece of what they do. They are a network. They promote themselves as a network. They lease themselves to other third-party administrators as well as doing third-party administration services, so they do both. And no different than, AmeriHealth does the same thing. We work hand-in-hand with AmeriHealth. They lease their network to us, and they are a third-party administrator. Cigna, we have access to Cigna and Aetna, and they're an insurance company as well as an administrator. So it's all about, they get a nice fee for doing really nothing on the network support side. I mean, it's very little overhead for them once their network's set up, so they make, $10, $12 a person per month providing a network, and they're not doing any administration. So it's a pretty nice situation for them. They probably make more money in their own, I would think they make more money when they're the network than doing all the administrative and having that headache. So, but, we do work with QualCare in a lot of different ways.
Mayor, I have
And we
a-
compete, all the time.
Even though Mr. Atkinson is our administrator, Mr. Borth, do you still have to spend some of your staff time and day dealing with us being a self-insured municipality?
Well, yes, in terms of my dealings with Mr. Atkinson with regard to any of the high number claims, in terms of payment of the bills that come into us. Also, their bills have to be processed just as if there are any other bills, so they're going to have to be encumbered, and a purchase order is going to have to be made and go through
The CFO's
that.
time as well, then?
I'm sorry?
The CFO's time as well, then?
No, not primarily the CFO, mostly the individual in the finance office who handles that.
I guess what I'm getting at is we're a small town, it's budget night, $80,000 is a lot of money, and we're always asking you and your staff to do an enormous amount of work, and if we could streamline and make things more efficient, whether it's by joining the state health benefits plan or some other method, you know, to free you up to do more things. I'm just wondering if that's something that the mayor and council should be looking at.
But the state health benefits plan, according to the quote that they got, was $158,797 more.
But I'm wondering if it's more than, one, I don't know, we don't have a side-by-side comparison of everything. Plus, he said that our plan is richer than the state health benefits plan.
It is a very rich plan.
Well,
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So to what degree is that, because I'm sure you tried to do a, you know, as best you could, an apples-to-apples comparison of ours versus the NJ Direct. And so, but ours is richer. So are you able to attribute how much of that cost differential is due to the richness of it?
I could definitely give Bill a comparison of certain benefits. Yeah, I mean, there's certain restrictions in the state. I think chiropractic may be limited to 30 visits per calendar year. We don't have that in our program. Physical therapy, occupational speech therapy, things of that nature. I was just looking at it for the Township of Harding. There was a couple other things, WIG benefit and some other ancillary benefits that are, you know, the co-pays are different. You know, some things that what they were looking to do with if they went to the state, but they would set up a health reimbursement, and it made sense for them. They're a smaller town. They're only 35 employees. But, you know, getting back to what Bill and his staff do, I mean, they would still have to report terms, changes, enrollment status, situation changes to any insurance carrier that would be administering the program, state, Blue Cross, Horizon, so that doesn't change. And the self-funded, it was probably the only thing different to us than writing one check to Aetna or the state every month is we request, usually 2 requests for fundings a month for the medical and the RX, and then we have our administrative bill. So
But
it's
then
really,
we're not paying money up front for those. We're only paying for claims that we incurred rather than a straight premium every month.
correct.
So
You better.
typically, you would think that you'd come out better by hanging on to your money longer. I would like to point out, though, that there's one little glitch in terms of switching insurance companies, and that is your collective bargaining agreements. Now, over the years, I've attempted to bring the collective bargaining agreements in as close conformity as possible with the state health benefits plan should the borough decide to go that route, or certain things happen at the state where we're required to go that route. Of course, the unions aren't necessarily interested in giving away benefits for free, so there are those considerations as well.
Oh, but we can make that decision as long as what we're providing is similar to what they're getting.
Oh, yeah.
We can change.
There's no question. I mean, we've changed it.
Bound by that.
Exactly. No, but since I've been here, we've switched from straight indemnity insurance over to pooled insurance, over to a modified pool self-insurance, and finally over to self-insurance. I'm not suggesting that you can't do that. It's not a simple matter of the borough unilaterally stating, we're going to change your insurance coverage. And I will say that even though we were providing in each instance, equal to or better, we still got grievances and pushbacks from the union. So, I mean, there are costs, obviously, that are involved with that as well.
And if the renewal is a month away, maybe this can't be handled right now, but it's just something I wanted us to think about.
I think we have that same discussion every year, actually.
You-
And
you
that
want
same
us to
statement
think-
is always made.
Then I
You want
take
us
it
to think
back.
about what? Going into state health benefits?
Looking at these costs and, yeah, if we,
I mean,
with the,
I'd like to
the whole
explore
analysis of
whether
it.
self-insurance is working for us going forward versus an indemnity plan, whether it's state health benefits or something else. Going forward, I mean, obviously, we're at the 11th hour, so we can't do it this year, but looking toward, I mean, look, this is not exactly a small increase, guys. I mean, this
No,
is,
but what was the increase in the state health benefits plan, too?
it wasn't as significant from last year to this year, if I recall. It was nowhere near as significant.
Yeah, I think it increased, I forget, it was close to $1.9 million last year when we looked at the program. It was still in the $1.9 million range this year. I think it was 7-8% increase at the state, but that's not going to last long. I mean, with healthcare reform and some of the things that are coming down the pike, we know Aon came out and did a study, too, that the state health benefits plan is just oozing money. I mean, they can't keep up with the losses. I mean, I lost a town to the state, which I would have recommended. We kind of recommended they go to the state because they were incurring claims of $2 million and the state cost was $1 million. So when you put a town of 100 people into the state for $1 million and you know their claims are $2 million, who's picking that up? I mean, that's the one thing that the state has to really look at, because anybody can get in with any type of catastrophic situation, and without question, they can go in, as long as you give them, I think, 90 days or something along those lines to get in. You have to file some papers and what have you. In certain situations, it definitely works, but somebody has to pick up that cost. I mean, the claims don't go away. And your claims as a whole are running fairly well. Your claims are running better than they did last year. Unfortunately, we had 3, probably the largest claim we've had since we've been in the program for 9-10 years now, this past year. I mean, so that's why the increase is what it is on that specific piece of your program. You know, then that's the benefit of self-funding, is it's just a small piece that's getting hit. I mean, overall, yeah, you're going up 14 or 9% on the worst-case budgeting. And Bill does a great job of maintaining that budget, and I think your claim costs over the years have been relatively flat, even though it is a big number. I get it. I mean, it's a lot of, a lot of money, $2 million, it's a lot of money for 100 people.
No, I mean, my point is not to sit here and say we should go into that, we shouldn't. My point is to explore our options more thoroughly next year. I don't believe, the fact that we don't have a single quote from an indemnity company, nobody responded, I think is a problem. It may be more. The state health benefits plan came in higher. It may be higher, but I think we have to do our due diligence and make sure, because you know what? It may not be higher. We don't even know. And that's troubling to me. It's really troubling to me. This is not a small ticket in our budget. This is a big ticket item. We just talked about a fire truck. This dwarfs a fire truck by a lot.
Well, I agree, but when you look at a difference of $158,000, that's a big difference.
What are you referring to?
I'm referring to
The state health benefits?
the state health
Yeah, but
benefits.
I'm not talking specifically about that. They're not the only, am I correct in that?
No, what Bill stated earlier, I think is a great point. I mean, granted, you can go and get a cheaper health plan. You could go for a high deductible plan, you could change the design, but his hands are tied a little bit to doing that. So the Blue Crosses, Aetnas of the world do not have your plan filed with the state, so you can't get that plan fully funded. You can't buy it from Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So that's a problem, right? So you can go and change deductibles, change co-pays, and
I'm
then
not,
yet
I'm
that
not
may
even
have...
getting into that. I
But
mean, I'm
that's
just
really what
saying-
it boils down to
but
when
I'm
you're
just
going
saying,
out
we
marketing.
don't even have a quote for a non-self-insured plan to tell us that we're doing the right thing. And I mean, we're a month out, and we have this conversation every year and say, it's too late. We can't do it because then our employees won't have coverage, and none of us want that. But going forward for next year, we have to do it.
I mean, and you're saying get a quote from,
More than one if we can, get as many
but
different
not for
types of-
not self-insured.
Correct. We have to explore, I'm not even saying, we have to explore the cost of self-insured versus an indemnity plan, self-insured versus some of the scenarios Bill talked about, how they evolved over this time to get us to the fully self-insured. I mean, Bill, you rattled off 3 or 4 different scenarios that we've gone through. And I guess the point is it time for us to step back to some of those scenarios or not? I don't know the answer, but unless we do our homework, we're never going to know the answer.
You know, the other issue that concerns me going forward, I don't know the extent to which that applies to public entity plans, but I know in private plans, in my own firm, we've been told that certain, you call them rich benefits, I don't know if you call them rich benefits or adequate benefits, depends on how you look at it, but they're going to become price prohibitive under the Health Care Reform Act. And there's all kinds of potential penalties and things. I mean, should we be looking at, are you going to help us look at this analysis to see the extent to which the plan we have or the plan we're going to have going forward is going to become more and more unaffordable because we don't comply with some of the new federal regs?
Well, there are some, obviously, there's a lot of things going on with healthcare reform. We all know in 2014 is going to be, and we have an attorney on staff, we have an actuary on staff, and, you know, we will be keeping you abreast on things that, as they come up and as they move forward into the taxes, the reinsurance taxes, everybody's going to get taxed on the reinsurance tax. There's going to be a per belly button tax of $1 that goes into another pool that you're going to have to pay for 3 years. There's a couple of taxes in a fully funded that don't apply to self-funded, so you're going to save 2 or 3 points, maybe as high as 7, I've heard, on a fully funded tax that doesn't apply to a self-funded group. So there are some things that obviously we're going to be on top of. We're going to have to be doing some of that billing and filing for you and our other clients. So yes, we'll be on top of that.
I mean, when do you think...
As federal mandates come down, we do have to incorporate them into our self-funded plan. Only state mandated, you have the option to not address in your plan. So if it's a federal situation that comes down, we'll have to incorporate that into the plan. But if the state mandates, you know, we don't have to incorporate them in the plan.
I mean, as we go forward, are you going to be offering us guidance and advice on the extent to which we're taking cost risk because of the elements of our plan?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we've done that in the past. Bill and I have sat down numerous times, and that's what we do, and our staff, and we communicate back and forth, and we keep you in compliance now with your summary plan descriptions and benefit booklets and the SBCs and things of that nature that have already come down the pike.
Any other questions from Mr. Atkins? Mike, thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
I suggest that we pull the resolution and look at it for the next meeting. That's
I
okay.
agree, yeah.
That's President?
Yes.
So when we get to that
We'll, yeah,
point,
do that.
we'll pull that.
Yes.
Okay. Bill, we now have the introduction of the budget. If you would like to go over for a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Let me get all organized here. I can. Organized as I thought.
What do you need?
Huh? Too much paper, Mayor.
A lot of paper.
Something.
That's the budget, yeah. Nobody would have
What you grabbed?
No, I didn't grab
Ribbons,
any
huh?
of your papers.
It was right here.
You're looking for this?
Yeah, I'm looking for that. Looking for my piece of paper. I have a clean one, but,
You okay?
hmm,
Bill's trying to find it.
All right, well, I guess I'll have to go with,
Bill, is this what you're looking for? One of these?
yeah, well, no, I'm not really.
That was notes.
I
The ordinance?
apologize, yeah, no. Okay. Some things must have gotten clipped together during the process of this evening, I apologize. As in past years, the budget process has been essentially the same as it has in the past, and that starts in December, November, where I ask the departments to provide me with their requests for the budgets for the upcoming calendar year. As a result of that and conference with those departments that have more complex budgets, I formulate budget to submit, as I'm required to do, to the council, which recommends those expenditures which I deem to be necessary to operate the borough for the upcoming year. The budget that I have submitted to the council maintains the current level of services and complies with the statutory requirements set forth by the state for us, which involve a number of regulations, the primary two of which are the appropriation cap and the levy cap. You have received information on both of those. Tonight you have a document that is the full state budget form document that was prepared by the auditor. The document contains additional sheets that are required to go to the state. Yes, that's a copy of it there. The numbers in that document are exactly the same as the numbers that you were given in the previous document being prepared by the Chief Financial Officer, which is then sent to the auditor to put into the required format for state review. This year, the 2013 budget that I've recommended proposes a total general appropriations of $15,685,000, which is a 1.86% increase, which totals $287,071.62. On the revenue side, we at the current time anticipate 1.5% increase in general revenues, which amounts to $72,441. This number also includes $650,000 in surplus, which is the same as last year, and $700,000 in revenues from the parking authority. Now, this number undoubtedly will increase as the year goes by. Some of the increase will be available for us upon the final adoption of the budget. Other information from grants will be available throughout the year, and we will include those in the budget under the Chapter 159 process. If you look at your revenue side of your budget, you'll see that there were a number of them last year. However, those are not going to change the amount that's projected that's going to be necessary to be raised by taxation. I have projected a 2% increase in the amount to be raised by taxation, and that increase is $214,630.41. This equates to 2.9 tax points over the 2012 rate. Now, this could change somewhat depending upon the actual school and county budgets when they're approved and the tax rates that they strike. This change would be reflected in the reserve for uncollected taxes. We have, based upon the estimates that were presented at the time that I wrote this memo, I'm anticipating an increase of over $9,000 in the reserve for uncollected taxes. What does that all mean? Well, the municipal increase of 2.9 points equates to approximately a $54.78 increase on the average assessed value home of $188,910. Now, that number may sound low, however, we are at, I think it's a 44% ratio last year, so the average property is valued about $360,000, $370,000. I've also submitted a capital budget to you and provided the backup documentation for that, and have, as was partially discussed earlier, attempted to defer or to switch some of the necessary costs over to other funding venues. You can see my synopsis there. I have recommended the purchase of the fire engine pumper, which we have discussed previously, and one other major item that we do need to fund this year is the follow-up on the Jersey Avenue pump station repairs. That, of course, will be bid, so the price could possibly come down. It could possibly go up. The same thing with the fire engine pumper. I am recommending $649,000 be bonded this year. That means that $32,450 would have to be raised in the budget. That, of course, is up to the approval of the council. You have been provided with some additional information, the cap levy calculations, and also the department breakdown. The pool is provided to you separately in both state format and also in with the departmental detail. And I think that provides the overview, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions to Bill about the introduction?
Just two, if I may. Bill, maybe I'm missing something. I'm trying to find, do we have the estimate for the school portion?
The estimate I provided to you in my document, in my memo to you.
What does that work out to, and how many points?
Well, my understanding is, and it generally is low, I am showing, and these are estimates, obviously, that the school rate would be 3.401.
What does that translate into tax points? Any idea?
I'd have to do the math here in my head.
6 or 7, somewhere in there?
I believe the article in the paper last week said 7 point something. What they gave out in their budget thing was in the paper the other day.
This doesn't.
Okay, that's fine. If that's it, I'll take
It's about 7, yeah. That's a little. That would be right, because from what I understand from reading the newspaper, the CFO's estimate is a little low.
So it's a little more than double what we're doing, as far as a rate. Okay.
Oh, their rates. We're, they're triple us. The school board accounts for, based upon the estimates, 63.4% of the budget. The borough portion is 21%.
What do you think the complaint ratio is? Probably 90 us, 10 them? I don't think most people understand that portion of it.
It all falls on us when they get the tax bill. They forget about the
That's-
county and the
Municipal
school
is how
board.
much, 20?
21%. That's based on the estimate of the county and the school. The amounts include the third of a mil that's required that we send to the library. However, you'll see in your budget documents that that number is broken down. And you'll also see on your tax bill that it's broken out too. It's a new requirement of the state, so you can see where your money goes for that.
The other question I had is more procedural. We're introducing the municipal budget. Does that include the capital budget in it?
Well, it includes a number for the capital budget. In other words, it includes the 32, I keep getting
But at some point, don't we do a separate capital budget?
well, you typically,
bond ordinance,
okay, yeah, well, the first is, the first step is to come up with the 5% down payment for your capital improvement fund, which is the 32,450. Okay, that,
How does that work if we don't even know, for example, how much a fire truck costs?
right,
So we budget X amount in the capital.
correct, but it's 5%. That would either roll over to surplus in 2 years if you don't use it, or you could cancel it prior to the end of the year. It's not a great deal of money, so if you want to zero it out, there's certainly ways to do that without knowing what you're
But
going to
that's
do.
money we put into, it would, if we decide not to, it would go to surplus, then we get, all right, I get it.
Well, if you decided, say, for example,
I guess
not to
money
buy the fire truck, then we could certainly reduce that.
I don't think it's a question of buying
Right,
one or
but-
not. I think we don't know the cost.
Yeah, so,
Okay, well, no, I understand that. And that's the problem that we have with the capital budget. We're projecting as close as we can what we feel the costs are at a given time. Certainly, the costs can increase or decrease based upon the bidding process. Most years, we try to estimate high so that we are sure that we have sufficient funding.
But if we don't, if it comes in lower, that's obviously bonded capacity we don't utilize.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Well, it can be utilized later or it can be canceled.
I would like to cancel.
so if,
But that's true with any of the things. When we did the garbage truck last year, was it last year or year before? You know, the estimate was this, and whatever it came in at, it came in at. And if it was less than the bonding capacity that was asked there, we didn't use the bonding capacity.
What I don't want to have happen, I know we haven't done this at all in the past, is, oh, well, they bonded $500,000 for a fire truck, guess we get to spend $500,000. I mean, I know we don't operate that way,
No,
and we never have, but I just want to make sure that's the case.
no, on any of the issues, it has to be bid, and then whatever the bid would come in at,
Right.
you know, whether that's when we were paving streets, whether we were buying a garbage truck or a pickup truck, or...
And I do recall at one time it came in over, at least once when we were doing it,
Which now?
maybe I'm talking past capital, and I don't recall what we did in that scenario. I think it's
Well, there are some things that you can do. I mean, your bond ordinance authorizes you to provide for a capital program. It doesn't stipulate the exact sum of money for each item. So if you are under an item and over an item, as long as you don't max out your bond ordinance, you're fine. But when you do bond, of course, you're stipulating an exact number, so you can't go over unless you amend your bond ordinance or you take your funds from some other source.
okay, that makes sense.
Any other questions for
Yeah,
that?
I just have a
Counsel?
question on that concept, and I know I've asked you this, Bill, but I just still don't understand it. Let's assume you bond for you make provision in your capital budget for $100,000, and as it turns out, you only spend 90. You have $10,000 in unused bond capacity. Have you, in other words, has $100,000 been borrowed, or only $90,000 been borrowed?
Well, no, it depends upon the circumstances. In past years, when we had available funds, we wouldn't necessarily go out and purchase notes right away. However, nowadays, with money being as tight as it is and budgets being as tight as they are, the finance officer has to certify the availability of funds, and in most cases, in order to do so, would have to take the note out prior to being able to certify the funds. Without the certification of funds, the item or service could not be purchased.
Okay, so then, based upon current practices, as you've just explained it, if you don't use your capacity, you have $10,000 of borrowing money that you borrow but you haven't spent.
That could be, yes.
Okay. That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just
Council
not to beat this to death, but
We're good at that.
when we do, at some point, we'll do a bond ordinance, right?
Correct.
So, based on the discussion we had with the fire chief, and things come to light about the cooperative purchasing contract and all that, before we do that bond ordinance, will we have a better idea of what the fire truck will cost? Because even if it's a 10% difference, that's $50,000. So if I follow the discussion that we just had, if we don't know that, and then we bond for $494,000, then we may have that amount, like $50,000 that we bonded for that we didn't really need? Is there a way to avoid that?
Well, sure, you could hold off on your bond ordinance until you knew closer to what your cost was going to be. Certainly on a big item like that,
Right.
It would be, or could be prudent to do that. When you're talking about, as in past years, a list of, let's just say, 10 items,
yeah.
which are, 100, 150 or less,
Right.
You know your number's closer. So
Right.
the chance that you're going to be that far over are considerably less. So it would be prudent to have a closer idea before you went out to bond. Of course, the longer you wait, then the greater lag time you'd have to purchase whatever it is you're going to do or provide the service. And certainly you could look at that, and I think by all means we should. I would just hesitate, or I'd be cautious, because we really do need to get these Jersey Avenue sewer station repairs made, and so that's a consideration too. I don't think you want...
And that probably won't, the cost of that won't probably fluctuate. It's different in the situation of the
I mean,
fire
we're
truck,
going to be
obviously.
subject to bid. I mean, that was based upon an engineer's estimate. It's going to be fairly close. And of course, what, $130-some thousand is, the variation on that isn't going to be $50,000.
Okay.
Remember to our discussion with the CFO this morning, we don't have to even do anticipation notes until the thing is delivered.
The truck, right?
The truck would be delivered. So you're talking, at best scenario, 8 months or to a year. If we gave the okay for the truck, we're talking 8 months to a
Right.
year. And then you don't have to do those anticipation notes until you're actually paying for it.
Right, but you do have the other piece there, the sewer improvement. So,
Yeah, and we need to do that,
yeah,
because...
I'm not suggesting that
I follow
you couldn't lag on that. The best solution would be to get a firmer price on your truck first, and then go.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Can we have a motion to introduce, and then I know it's going to be a second, and then a roll call vote?
I think, Katie, you have to read something?
No, only on
On the
public
adoption,
hearing.
all right.
Yes.
First, you have the motion, and then a second, and then it's roll call,
Yes,
correct?
Mayor.
Just a procedural question. When I make the motion, am I stating the amount of the budget, or just, okay, thank you, all right. So I move that we introduce the municipal budget, R 2013-74.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's a roll call vote.
Councilman Camerano.
Yes.
Councilman Grazel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Insero.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rasmussen.
Yes.
Councilman Wallace.
Yes.
Council President Muldoon.
Yes.
Okay, just as for the public, next meeting, which is the 15th, correct? We will have two of our other departments in the DPW and the library to talk to them about the budget, as we did with the chief. And then we are anticipating having a public hearing on May
6th, Mayor.
6th. Okay? Just to make sure the public knows that. I'm going to open it to the public at this time. Seeing no questions or comments, closing that section of the meeting.
No proclamations, right? No.
Nope. Communications consent.
I move the communication consent agenda, items 9 and 10.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're at that point where we have reports from the council members. Council President?
I have no report tonight.
Thank you. Let's see, Councilman Wallace?
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple things. We'll start with the DPW. All the stumps and everything have been cleaned up, and they're in the process of doing the cement work around the holes and all that. They've got some of it done. They're still working on it, but they're doing a fantastic job. Second thing is a very, he's not one of the directors, but one of the top people in the DPW is retiring, and it's going to be a major loss for us from the DPW on some of the jobs we get done through the DPW, and it's going to be a real loss for us. And I'm sorry to have to tell everybody about that, but it's going to really hurt us. I met with the auxiliary police at their meeting last week. They are putting their schedules together because we do have a lot of summer items coming up, and they've got them all covered. I went to the Easter egg hunt at the Recreation Department. First time I went to it, and I'll tell you, they got that job in order.
You're a little old, aren't you?
Yeah, I got in the middle pile. But the way they had the field set up for the little kids and the different brackets, it's amazing how they do that. The Easter Bunny arrived on a fire truck to one area, and then Unit 9 took them out on the field with everybody. And it really, I couldn't believe the amount of people that were there. Very large crowd. And it was well worth being there for that time. It was a little chilly, but everybody had a very good time. Traffic and transportation, we spoke a lot about that because that meeting was earlier in the month. So we're still talking about several things. In regards to that, the stop sign has been installed at Rose Street. And with the way they're working on a bridge, they came all the way down and took out the curbing all the way down. So that stop sign got there just in time if you see the way people come around there. I really want to tell the DPW to fill some of them potholes, but I think it helps slowing some of the people down. It's amazing how they fly through there. And you see it more and more now. And you see a lot of people walking up those steps that are on the Greenway and going up to walk down Spring Street to go back down the stairs. And like I said in the past, I think if you went to Spring Street and ran up and down those stairs 3 times, you wouldn't have to take a 2-mile walk. It's just a wonderful place. I walked it the other day. Everybody says hello to everybody, even though you don't know them and everything. It's just a great thing for the town, and I can't say enough about it.
Can I just interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
I think we covered this at the last meeting, but the complete street presentation, we're going to have at the May meeting, right?
In
'Cause
May. I'm making the arrangements.
Oh, you are? Okay. Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought the second meeting in May would be best with the hearing of the budget on the first meeting.
Okay, so we'll
I'll
schedule
make
that,
it-
right?
I'm making the
Okay.
arrangements.
Because with the
Yeah.
budget, we just agreed with all
The
this.
last meeting, we asked to have it either one of these April meetings, and then we realized the budget situation, and they're going to put it off till, like to say, the mayor's involved with Tyrene, I guess, on resetting it. I had talked to her and told her it's okay to reset it for April, and then all this came up, so the mayor got to her before I did to tell her,
Okay.
hold off, it'll be in May or June, and the May meeting was picked. So yes, that is a go. The Complete Streets presentation will be at the May 6th meeting, which the mayor just said.
Not May 6th, May 20th.
Well, okay, anyway, May 20th.
Okay.
I stand corrected. I noticed something else, but I forgot right now.
Okay.
There may be a couple resolutions honoring someone in the next two meetings. The two police reserves that are retired, one with 38 years and another one with 25 or
Okay.
24 point something. I just got to get the final information from them, and hopefully they'll have it to me so we can turn them in and figure what meeting we'll have them at and
Okay.
present them to them.
That's very good.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rasmussen?
Okay, I just really have one quick item. The Environmental Commission is working with the Edison Wetlands Association, and we're working on getting a $20,000 grant that we can use to do some meets and bounds on the Dismal Swamp and to open up some kind of passive recreation. So we're working with them on the details of our obligation to the grant, and I'll let you know when everything is final.
Okay. Councilwoman Sarah?
I have no report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilman Grazel?
Cable and Technology met last week. We had a guest who came in and spoke to us about broadband capacity, and apparently our cable provider and Wi-Fi offer limited broadband capacity, and this somehow inhibits people with home businesses and the businesses high-technology businesses who come to town. So we're going to take a more comprehensive look at it and see what, if anything, we can recommend to the mayor and council about it.
But that will be negotiated in our upcoming new negotiations?
That's one of the things we're going to explore, yes.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Last but not least?
Your Honor, I have one very important issue, and it'll be very brief. As of today, the Children's Library is closed, and it
Okay.
will remain closed until June 1st, hopefully, for renovations. I think we asked this afternoon to have it put on the borough website, and maybe even do a call out to residents to let them know that it will be closed. We tried to make alternative plans, but we couldn't do it. So for the next 2 months, Children's Library will be closed. However, it's a very exciting project, and I think people will be pleased at the end. That's all I have.
So if you would like to do the reverse 911, or do you want me to do it?
I think you can do it. You're pretty good at it.
I will be away tomorrow, but we could do it. That's the one thing with DPW. I want to thank and compliment Fred Hall. Last week when we did the reverse 911 message, they ran the garbage and recycling in the southeast quadrant, and our guys were done in such a short time, they realized that people missed the change in the calendar because of the Good Friday holiday. And so he called Bill and me immediately, and we were able to get the message out, and I know I've gotten a lot of feedback, people thanking us as the reminder that the schedule had changed.
It doesn't matter who does it. I think the important thing is to get a call out to let people know that, so they don't have to make a trip out to the library and only to find out it's closed.
Okay. Just email me the information, and we'll
I
get
will
it.
do that.
Okay.
Thank
Let's see, Bill, do you have any report?
I have no report.
Dennis?
No, Mayor.
I just have one or two items. One, Saturday, April 13th, is the Earth Day. It's going to be at the Senior Citizen Center, so please come out. I had a gentleman today call me, Mr. Natke, and I told him to get involved with it. Their Public Works will be there, Environmental Commission, Recreation Commission. They're going to be looking to clean up portions of the Greenway. There will be a continental breakfast, so you're welcome. Also, on Saturday the 13th, another reminder about the shredding program, which will be at Edgar School. and it's for files, receipts, bills, financial statements, and any confidential documents. You don't have to remove paper clips or staples. So, but I could tell you that once the truck is filled, it's over, and it starts at 9 o'clock at Edgar School in the rear parking lot. And that's all I have. Mr. President?
Your Honor, I request that item number 30, resolution number 2013-90, be removed from the consent agenda.
Okay, and then we'll put it on the April 15th meeting, correct?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Your Honor, I move that consent agenda items 15 through 29 and 31 through 31 and 32, which are resolution number 2013-75 through 89, and then 2013-91 and 92, be moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And I move that a bill resolution in the amount of $235,985.79 be moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We now have an ordinance.
Another ordinance, huh? Okay, this is second read, first read.
First reading.
Okay, I move that ordinance number 2013-4 be introduced and taken up for first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
I was asleep at the switch.
Katie, would you read the ordinance by title only?
Ordinance 2013-4, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
All right, move that the ordinance be passed on first reading, published according to law, and a public hearing set down for,
April 15th.
thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's a roll call vote.
Councilman Camerano.
Yes.
Councilman Grayzel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Insero.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rasmussen.
Yes.
Councilman Wallace.
Yes.
Council President Muldoon.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll hear that on the 15th. I'm going to open it now for comments from the public. Hearing none.
Head for the door.
Close that section of the meeting.
I move for adjournment.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.